Well, look, I think that issues that relate to the dating of the inquiry are not issues which require political comment. I mean, the government knows that an election is due on the 19th of October. That's when the 4 years are up. After that, a different timing would start to apply. We're very clear about what the date of the general election should be. I mean, I've known what the date of the general election is going to be now for 2 or 3 years. Before these were even issues. I plan things in that way because you would expect me to. It's my job to do that and to ensure that I can deliver in the lifetime of the Parliament the things that I believe can be delivered. Absent then the coach and horses that COVID drives through that planning and how the Brexit negotiations might deal with things. But look, I've made the points that I have to make in relation to the McGrail Inquiry at this stage. I've said what I've said about Gibraltar's reputation. I am very concerned about, in particular, how some might wish to exploit this issue to damage Gibraltar's reputation, or indeed how some might use the threat of that to try to gain advantage in the context of this process, or try to somehow push their own profiles at the price of Gibraltar's reputation suffering. I'm very clear that I acted entirely properly at every stage, in keeping with every rule, with every regulation, with every act of our Parliament, with every standard of practice that might be expected of me. That's why I want the inquiry to happen, so that when all of the information sees the light of day, people will be very satisfied that their government and their chief minister acted entirely properly throughout, and that there is a tissue of lies and fantasy being woven by some who wish to use this issue against the government. When they will use that, whether they use it in the autumn, whether they use it before the autumn, whether it all has to take even longer because of the issues that are now being investigated about a leak, which is extraordinarily concerning. That something as important as this inquiry, given what has been said about the subject matter, should have been subject to a leak is extraordinarily concerning, and we'll have to see what happens with the investigation of that leak and who is responsible for that leak and who is behind that leaking. So all of those things are live in my mind, but in terms of the reputation of Gibraltar, my concern remains, and in terms of my reputation, that is not an area of concern for me, because I know I've acted entirely properly throughout.